We're here in Lockport, Louisiana, close to Houma, and we're at Thomas C. Shipyard. They have a contract and they had a need of some larger overhead cranes. These overhead cranes run on rails, and so they had some settlement of those rails before, and they wanted to correct the problem, especially with the bigger capacity cranes. They're going to put these overhead cranes through this building that we're standing in. So this is probably about 280 feet long and maybe 80 or 100 feet wide. So we're coming on both sides and we're pressing 8 pile clusters, and we're going down anywhere from 38 feet to 57 feet. And behind me, they are being driven as we speak. So there's no vibration, there's no pounding, there's no impact. And each piling is also tested. We have a gauge on it, and we know the exact tonnage that we're pressing to. These particular piles, we're pressing them to 15.7 tons, and we're reaching that at 1,600 PSI.
They're going to double the size of their crane. That's a 10-ton. They're installed in 20 tons. This is the foundation for the crane. We're putting 8 piles by every column, and this is a lot better than a wood pile because it'll never rot, never rust, and you couldn't even get in here to put a wood pile down. This is so quiet, you can hear everything while we're working. This is really, it's not an intrusive process.
Different contractors had asked me for something that could get in limited height, and also something that can drive in that they don't have to bring in like a big crane rig that weighs a lot with that big boom. So I'd been asked that before, but Vernon signed this job up with 208 pilings. And so we started about a month ago designing and modifying our auto car. So it's like an 8-way hitch on the back of this auto car. It'll go in and out, side to side, up and down, and then we have a cylinder that'll actually level, or it'll plumb the hydraulic cylinder. So the pilings will be driven perfectly straight. Each piling is tested. Now there are some other methods like the helical piles where they screw in metal helicals, but you don't know exactly the amount of force that those helicals can hold. You know exactly the amount of force that these are pressed in with. And these are substantial 8-inch concrete with the rod right through the middle that's torqued down. So when it's driven in, after a day or two, you have skin friction where that mud grabs the outside of that pile. And so it might have 2 or 3 times the capacity of when it was driven.
This is the same Permalock pile that we lift houses with. Normally we have to have a house to drive them down, but Warren designed this truck, and that is going to give us the weight to install the pile for new construction.
We built it in our yard in Natalmany. Took an auto car, which is like an old white truck built here in America. Most of them were automatic, Allison transmissions back in the 70s and 80s. So we took this auto car. We have tracks from Right Track that we installed on the rear end, and then we have flotation tires on the front. So the truck can operate in adverse conditions because of the tracks it has on it. It already had a push-pull ram that we use for house moving. We took 40,000 pounds of counterweight and we built where it would snap into the kingpin, and then when we moved the truck around, that counterweight, we suck it to the center of the bogies in the back. When it gets in position over a piling, we could fine-tune the exact placement with moving hydraulically the back end around. But we also press that blade down, and then we push the counterweight right on top of where we're going to be pushing.
So he's going to take the time to level the pile with this piston. We have total control over what the piling does. You see, he's putting the level. He's going to get it perfectly straight. Then this piston is going to drive 5 blocks down at a time. It's a no-brainer, you know? And then there's no banging, there's no noise. You're not cracking up the next door neighbor's sheetrock by banging wood piles down. This is the future of new construction.